It's nice to meet the public.
Great. We have with us Zoe Anderson. She's from Access to Benefits. And Zoe, you give help to people like our panel and those who are in next door as well, and you'll be talking to them tomorrow, on how to get access to what you are entitled to. Lots of people don't claim it, do they?
Very much. We know that at the very least there's £1 million a week in Northern Ireland alone going missing, not being claimed by people in just one benefit, pension credits. That's really just the tip of the iceberg. And if you have a pen and paper handy, please do note down the address of our website, which is www.A2B, that's the number 2, A2B.org.uk. What we do is we allow people freely, simply and anonymously to check their benefit entitlement by going through a quick series of questions about things like their state pension, their rates bill, etc. Gives you a very simple report at the end telling you exactly what you're missing out on. And we have raised over £11 million for people in Northern Ireland simply through them using our calculator over the past 2 years.
Well, I've got to say, having had a bit of experience of that for a relative recently, I can entirely see how people could lose out on it. It is so complicated, isn't it?
Forms, the whole application process is dreadfully complicated. And one thing that we would be asking for is for government to look at more ways in which they can share their data about people and actually look at ways of paying benefits more automatically than what happens now, because the application process is so off-putting, particularly if maybe, you know, your literacy isn't great or your handwriting isn't great or you just find forms daunting, as all of us do.
Not everyone's a silver surfer, though, and you know, if you haven't quite cracked all of that, how do you find out?
Absolutely. We have over 200 organisations across Northern Ireland who have been trained on how to help an older person or their friends or family or a neighbour or somebody else that you trust can help you actually go through the benefit calculator. And if anybody wants, you know, you can also go onto the website and find out where your nearest advice centre is. So if you find out that you're entitled to something but you need help to fill in the forms, there's then that extra help available to you as well.
Chula, if I could maybe talk to you a wee bit about this, because I know you help out with your granny, don't you? And she looked after you for years, and you're partly looking after her now too. Is that the kind of difficulty that you hear about from her and maybe her friends?
Well, my granny gets helped out by everybody. We always pitch in for her to help her out, and my auntie buys her magazines and I buy her Coke during the week and stuff. So we all help her, but you do hear her complaining about, I have no money to do and buy this, and I have nothing like this. But you're used to it. You don't really, you just hear it and then go, all right, and you feel I feel like kind of responsible because, like you said, she looked after me since I was 6 weeks old until I was 16. So it's kind of my way of repaying her for that 16 years of dutiful service.
When you hear what Zoe's saying about the website and so on, maybe would encourage you to go on it and have a look?
I definitely. If I get that website off you, I'll get everything sorted out for her. Stop her complaining and save my money.
Whenever you hear this, Grania, you know, when you look at older people today at our very august panel here, do you look at them and worry that maybe they're not getting enough to live on when you hear about the cost of fuel and so on? Or are you looking at your own bills and thinking, you know, I'm as badly off as you are?
Well, I know for a fact my granny used to work for the water service and he retired, but because him and my granny were both on retirement pay, that he didn't have enough money to do them for like a whole week. It wasn't enough, so he had to go and get a part-time job, just like locking the place up. So like obviously his money wasn't enough to last for them, so it isn't just enough to live on for, and that's only 2 people.
Does it scare you a bit, Shoneen, when you hear this, when you look forward to, or do you ever look ahead to when you're going to be the age of the people that we're talking about today?
I think you have to, because you see the people complaining and that there's a lot of problems, and I think it mirrors on both sides of the equation, because you can't get, and it's always the younger and the older side. The middle ground's usually fine, but it's the younger and the older are always ignored, and there's always the problems lie there. So I think it's more important to focus on both those extremes as well as the middle ground to make sure everyone in society is okay, rather than just the majority in the middle.
Margaret, you used to be in the Inland Revenue. You must be good at filling in these forms.
Well, I think part of the problem is older people, a lot of them were brought up to never ask for anything. They supported themselves, and I think that's probably the reluctance to claim. That they don't think, they see it as a handout. And that's it. Even when they are helped, a lot of them do still see it as a handout. I would be fine at filling in forms, but even some of them I would find daunting. Another problem is older people who are also carers. The minute you get your pension, you lose the carers allowance. So you're expected to care to the same extent as you've always cared, but with no extra money for it, just your pension.
And if you don't have help, Robert, you must meet a lot of people who are struggling, and they're maybe really worried that they're going to lose that extra £100 off their winter fuel payments. They haven't discovered Zoe's magic website, and they're just wondering how they're going to make ends meet.
Yeah, there are a lot of people fall outside the net. It might surprise some of our younger listeners and some of our listeners out there today to hear that 756 people over 65 died from cold-related illness in the winter of 2009-2010. 756 people actually died in Northern Ireland from lack of funds. A statistic that just came out in Parliament this morning. When fuel spending goes up by older people, went up by 7% last winter, their spending on food went down by 7% because it's either heat or eat for a lot of people. You'll see old people sitting in shopping centres. Quite often they're not shopping, they're keeping warm because they can't heat their house. Now, there are a lot of pensioners who are a lot better off. If you compare them to 60 years ago, yes, we're all better off. But there are an awful lot of pensioners today who just can't make ends meet because fuel has gone up, food has gone up, oil price has gone up 75% since 2005. Now, the gas price has gone up 39%. And they're talking about the electricity going up. Yeah. That is a big whack.
And you've got a fixed income.
Pension, a big whack. So
leaves a big hole.
There are a lot of people who are being neglected when it comes to poverty.
I'm just going to leap to my feet here, well, stand up anyway, and take a quick nip down to the Pensioners' Parliament because, believe it or not, I'll be back. Don't be going away, anybody, because that's exactly what they're talking about at the minute. In fact, they're just round the corner from me here. Just a reminder, by the way, if you didn't get hold of that website, it's Access to Business, A2B, that's a number 2, A2B.org. .uk, and if you go onto that you can fill in that kind of online reckoner. But I'm just coming in through the door. They're actually talking about money and about pensions at the moment.